Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your SpaLife Show. SpaLife is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. The SPA in SpaLife stands for Seek Power Always, that internal power within you so you can step into the things that you are here to do. I am so thrilled to have our special guest today, Kym Yancey. He is the co-founder, president, and chief marketing officer of eWomenNetwork, the #1 business community for women entrepreneurs with over 500,000 women connected throughout 118 chapters spread across the U.S. and Canada. Kym, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Hey, listen, you left off the best part.
Oh, I got more to share with you.
Well, I'm the second banana. Second banana. I've just loved that role, being second banana. You know who #1 banana is?
Kym Yancey.
You got it.
Oh, I love it. I love the fact that you guys have such a playful relationship and how you've just melded your life together. And a lot of people don't know, because you are the claimed second banana, of all the things you do behind the scene that make, eWomen shine. And, a lot of people don't know that you're the creator and executive producer of The Glow Project, a powerful film that was heralded across North America as one of the most inspiring movies created for women, according to the Orlando Film Festival. I mean, that is just amazing. How did you get into production?
I have always been a producer. I didn't realize it at the time, but even in high school, Diane, I was in the jazz lab band. I'm a drummer. And so I was in the high school jazz lab band in Dayton, Ohio. And, my junior year, I actually constructed a program called Music Lab America, where other high school jazz lab bands played in a mall. And we brought in thousands of people to the mall to see their kids playing in these jazz lab bands all day. So every day over the weekend, there would be a different band playing every, 30 to 45 minutes. Well, those bands, which had 17, 18, 20 people in them, would now have their parents and their grandparents and their cousins. The mall had record business.
Wow.
But that was I was just a producer. I mean, my mother couldn't figure it out because, in high school, I came home with some cards. I had a buddy of mine whose parents owned a printing shop, and I had these cards that said Kym Yancey Productions, and I had my home phone number. And I went to my mother and said, "Hey, Mom, listen, I've started a business. Here's the card. When people call, you can't say Yancey Residence. You have to say Forest Grove Productions." Because my company was called Forest Grove Productions. So, Diane, I was a producer, and, but I didn't think of it that way. I just felt like I wanted to make something special happen. And I just figured, let me just do it.
Right.
So it started very, very early for me, being kind of having a producer mindset.
Absolutely. Well, Kym, you definitely made something special happen. I mean, you are a gold record winning composer and producer. And in the 70s and 80s, you were signed to Capitol Records. I mean, that's a big deal. And so you weren't just a drummer, you were a singer with the legendary funk band Sun, which I'll have you know, I'm still waiting for the reunion, because I think the whole eWomen community would love to see you live. So I'm just going to put that out there, because I would love to see that happen. I think that'd be so fun. I mean, you appeared on Soul Train. I mean, I watched that growing up. It was just so fun to be dancing to Soul Train and have somebody there. And the fact that you were in that was just so exciting. And you had sold out concerts throughout North and South America. I mean, it's just so exciting what it is that you did on the road. I mean, you were the front road runner, and now you are having the energy pushing with eWomenNetwork. How was that transition for you?
Well, I mean, it's unbelievable when I think about it. I mean, first of all, I was telling my kids, I just took for granted back then, you're young, when you're in your 20s, you just really think you're the coolest thing going.
You were.
Especially being in the band, I mean, when people would walk up to you and want your autograph, and you have to act like it doesn't affect you, like, oh, sure, I'm happy to do that. But inside, you're like, oh my God. But, Diane, you're right. I mean, it was, I met my bride when I was 23 years old. And she says that she was 17. I don't believe her. I swear she was 18. But anyway, she turned 18 in there. And so Sandra was like behind me, right? I mean, what I'm saying is everything we go and she was used to the band activity and how, we had fans. I mean, it was really fun. And, so she really was behind the scenes with me, because from the band, which getting a record deal, today I just realized, just how incredibly special that was. I mean, it is hard to get a record. Back then it was, and it is now.
Right.
But from that, I did that, and we traveled the world with the OJs and the Commodores and Earth, Wind and Fire and these other groups. And but after a band is just like a business, like all of us entrepreneurs. I mean, that's, I really look at them from an entrepreneurial standpoint, being exactly the same tactics are being used all the time, with leadership and all the things you've got to do, organization, processes, all that stuff that we do in business. But I ended up getting out of the band. I mean, leaving the band to do my own recordings. And while I was doing my own recordings, I was going broke. I was like using up my royalty money because deals weren't coming through fast enough. And this is a key thing for all of us in business, is that you go through a lot of rejection. Even though I had a deal before, now I'm trying to get a solo deal. I got some rejections, money's running out. And all of a sudden I had to pivot, and I had to think about, man, how am I going to make money and keep going and at the same time go after my dream? Right. So Diane, I ended up segueing that into a jingle business that was using all of my musical friends. We were doing award-winning jingles, won countless awards, and that jingle business became an advertising agency. And when it was all said and done, 15 years later, I've got 40 employees. I am considered one of the country's top multicultural marketing specialists, and women was one of my areas. 15 years, I'm running an advertising agency. Again, wow. Producing, doing stuff, and helping other people. And that led to later moving to Dallas and starting eWomenNetwork with Sandra.
Right.
And transitioning and flipping the whole equation.
Right. What I love about this is that, you took your strength of who you were. I mean, you were producing as a young kid. I mean, you're running out of your home and, really looking at what are the strengths, what is it that you're here to do, and being able to pivot that into, doing the business with Sandra and, the jingles, and really looking at what is it that is core to you and what's your unique qualities that you bring into the world, and stepping into that and just doing it in a different way.
Right.
And, before we move on to, the part of, stepping into the advertising and jingle and the marketing that you're doing now, yes. I'd love for you to share what was your, one of your most favorite memories from being with Soul and Son?
Oh, it was the constant adventure. You have to understand when people talk about going to the next level and the speed, it happens with a record. I remember, our first two records, we had number one, like in 1976, we had the number one single on the R&B charts in Los Angeles. But it was number one in Los Angeles. But say in Cincinnati, it was number 10. Mm-hmm. And so throughout the country, it'd be number one in this market, number 10 or number 5 or something someplace else, which is different than going number one across the country at one time. Okay, everything is about, in the music businesses, what's your ranking at the same time all over the country.
Right.
But, in those markets, when you're number one, the people in that city, they just see you as a top selling group and big in their city.
Right.
So what I noticed though was, all right, album number one, and it went so far, just undergoing gold. It didn't hit it, but just under it. Then album number 2 comes out. Kind of same place. It did okay. We're on Soul Train. We're on these shows. But album number 3 was the magic for us. Album number 3, we had a song called Sun Is Here. And all of a sudden, our bookings just quadrupled. OJs are calling us, Commodores and different groups are calling us to open up with them. And we're being treated different at Capitol Records. I remember it was so much fun going to Capitol Records in Los Angeles, which is a round building, and pulling up to the gates. And the person at the gate says, "Yes, can I help you?" And I remember saying, "Hi, this is Kym Yancey with Son." And they'd say, "Come on in."
It's like the golden ticket.
That's where the Beatles record, and Frank Sinatra and all these people, and knowing that, they're saying, "Come on in,"
How exciting.
It was exciting. The thrill was, Diane, was just every day, new market, different audience, and the growing, but also it was one of my biggest lessons, because when that album went gold for us, our third album with the song Sun Is Here, and there was a ballad on that album called I Had a Choice that I wrote that has since become the most listened to song of Sun. And again, if you go to YouTube and you put, Sun on Soul Train, a whole list of music and scenes will come up and you can follow what we're all about. But I will never forget signing that album with the guy in Capitol Records, and this stood with me. The president of the label had his arm around me, and he said to me as we're taking this picture, and he said, he says, you know what, Kym? He says, something I want you to never to forget. He says, every year there's a new hit I Love You song that comes out. And he says, no matter how big that song is, how many times it gets played, the world wants a new I Love You song tomorrow. And that was really, what a powerful metaphor for all of us in business, that it doesn't matter who's doing your thing. It doesn't matter if someone else has got a great book that's writing about what you're writing about. The world wants a new one. They want a new take. They want a new, fresh perspective on it. The world always wants something new because they tire of the old and they want new. And it's just, and he said to me, he says, look, they got a different beat. They got a different melody. For entrepreneurs is, hey, they might have a different slant. They might have a different perspective. But it's about knowing that you're bringing a new perspective, a new idea to the market, even though, like as Sandra says, innovation is the key, just to innovate what's already there.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And, Kym, I mean, you have been an award-winning commercial jingle person and marketing. And I mean, I've been the benefit of your genius. I mean, I've tried, for many years of people trying to get my messaging and how I'm presented in the world. And you just nailed it. I mean, you just get down into really getting to know who it is that you're working with on such a huge level. And, with Celebrity Science, the launching into that was huge. I mean, you've had, more than 200 awards in your creative excellence. I mean, you are just a creative genius. And I almost look at, borrowing another word from Sandra, that, as big as you were with Sun and as much as you were on the world with, Capitol Records and all the fame and fortune that came with that, I almost look at it as this launching pad of just really using all of the skills and talent that you had with that to really cultivate all the things that you do with that, the same things that you use to become a star, you're using to help people become a star in their realm and using that same journey. Can you explain a little bit more about how you're doing that now, how you're taking all your star power and you are actually, elevating people in their messaging and what you are now stepping into?
Yeah, thank you, Diane. And what's interesting about this journey for me and how I approach things, it's like somebody who can draw really well, okay? And I can't, all right? And you see someone who's able to do cartoon figures and all that, and you say, I mean, like, man, how do you see that? How are you able to do that? Well, it's kind of like just built into their DNA. And in my case, I have always been one that's able to look at someone else and see something in them or see something that they're not bringing forward. Like the classic example is you. Like when the first time I met you, and we're talking and I'm asking you to tell me about what you do and what you're all about. And so you went into that. But then like midway, in the middle of that story, you told me about, how you used to go undercover in San Diego. You're an undercover cop and you would be on the streets and you're busting hookers and the Johns and narcotics. And I'm like, oh my God. So first of all, that was the story over everything that you had told me that stuck with me, first of all. But it was so easy for me. Your story was being buried, right? I mean, I thought that bring that to the forefront. So I've always been able to look at someone and look at what's not being brought to the forefront. That's my, if you want to call it my special ability. And that's how I approach things. I approach them differently and look for how can I pull out the unique, the perspective. And it's very hard for people to be their own trial, judge, and jury. I mean, like for myself, for example, it's difficult for me to do what I do for others for myself. And you hear that all the time with people who will say, the shoe cobbler's shoes are the ones that aren't fixed up. I'll fix yours, but mine aren't fixed up. And, so it's much easier for me to take someone and look at them and look at, I'll tell people all the time now, for 15 years, Diane, I worked on businesses, whether it be theme parks and lotteries. Like I handled the Ohio lottery, the DC lottery. I handled their campaigns. I did theme parks. I did insurance companies. I did automotive car dealerships. So I'm doing all this creative to bring out the uniqueness there, right? Now, I've taken all of that and converted that into the individual. And I got to tell you, I'm having the time of my life with that, because what's so enjoyable is this is like doing a makeover with a person in a grand way, where you're thinking about, who they are and bringing out who they are, what matters to them. And really, no individual gets the opportunity to have someone, what I call, behind them and pushing them up. And really, it's almost like a quasi manager, personal manager, designer. And it's a role for me that I just get immense joy out of it, and like you're and others that I work with, they kind of relinquish and say, I want you just to do it. What do you want me to do? What colors do you want me to wear? And what that does is that creates for an incredible, unique partnership, where you're able to design and create and co-create together, and I'll tell you something else, Diane, what I've noticed is that once I do this, once we get into this, it's phenomenal how a person up levels their own game. I think about the many different clients that I've worked with, and we'll have wardrobe people come in because we're doing videos and we want them to look a certain way and we want them to come off really fresh. And we put them in clothes that they never pick out for themselves. And they get there and they come out and they go, oh my gosh, I really like that. Well, what happens is we're shifting their vision. We're taking their perspective, what I call their baseline, and raising it. And what I love is what I'm seeing, Diane, is that people aren't retreating back to what they used to be. If they retreat to that new benchmark, which is higher. Does that make sense? Which is a higher level. Yeah. And so it's like a whole different awakening, Right.
It's like you create this vision and they step into it, and now that's where they live.
That's where they live. Yeah, that becomes, I tell people all the time, that's the worst you'll ever be. In other words, that new benchmark that raised you is the worst spot you'll ever be, because everything will go up from there. Right. You'll just keep going up from there and fine-tuning and finding your message,
Right. Right. Well, and that is such a testament to how deeply, people trust you, how much I trusted you. I mean, this is like your brand. This is your image. This is who you're stepping out into the world. And to be able to kind of get out of your own way, to let somebody, show something that is totally maybe out of your comfort zone, maybe a vision you've not seen of yourself, is such a beautiful, unfolding. It's almost like this butterfly, changing that caterpillar to a butterfly, of just not seeing yourself at that way. And I've seen time and time again of your before and afters of your celebrity science, of just people who were great. I mean, they were successful and they were doing well. I mean, Dr. Venus is a great example. I mean, you see this, who they are being in the world, and then there's just more. Like there's that another level that they didn't even see for themselves. And I just think that is such a unique quality that you have and that you step into in designing things for other people.
Right. And it's, this is so driven, with belief system too, your internal belief system. I mean, I tell you what, Diane, I always go after, the first thing I do in my particular case is I just kind of look at the whole picture. I'm looking at the website, the person, what they're saying, what they're communicating, how they're communicating what they're saying. And we're in a real unique time. I mean, you have to realize, with selfies and everything else, we're a culture that is consumed with brand image. I tell people, whether you're engaged in branding or understanding branding or not, it is happening to you. In fact, you don't even have a choice. You can't even say, oh, I'm not going to get into that branding thing. You know what? You're in it, whether you want to accept it or not. And choices and decisions are being made constantly. And branding also isn't about changing who you are. Branding is about magnifying what's there. It's about bringing something forward that, you as an individual, you're so tied up in what you're doing, to be able to cover all these different aspects of yourself. It's just really great when someone else is able to support you and help you and bring out these new characteristics, these new things that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. And I see it in musicians. As musicians get better and they practice their craft, as they hone their craft and they practice and they practice, they start stepping into a higher level. And you see it with, take one of your favorite artists. If you see them their first year on stage and you're digging them and loving them, that's great. See them the next year. See them 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Right.
I'm thinking of like Paul McCartney, starting with the Beatles, decades and decades and decades. I saw him recently in concert. He did a 3-hour concert. Like here he is in his 70s. Right. And now he just did this car karaoke with James, Corden. And I mean, it's just amazing. He just gets better every year. Right.
And, I tell people, let me tell you, just like we're talking right now, what we're saying, this is music. You have to understand, these are musical notes, our discussion. And what we've got is, there are dynamics going on here. It's those times when maybe I want to make a specific point, and so I slow down. So that's nothing but the music getting softer and mellower, or we have excitement and we're bringing it up and we're talking. In other words, there's a melody, there's a music in everything we do. There's a rhythm and there's a beat. And when you start to understand that and start to incorporate it, and these are all little nuances that come into who you are, it starts to affect the way people receive you and look at you. And you start to influence other people when they start to pick up on your characteristics. I mean, how many times, Diane, just think about this, whether it's male or female, but there's something, maybe there's a laugh, there's a certain style, there's a certain something they do. And before you know it, you have incorporated that nuance of them into you. Right. I've done it. I've seen people, or someone who had a laugh, or that's something about them that just really, I just loved it.
Right.
And I brought it into myself unconsciously.
Right. Well, like if you travel in the South, all of a sudden you're talking Southern.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I love that. Well, and speaking of laughter, I know part of you, just how you design your life. I mean, laughter is such an important aspect of, I feel like I'm always laughing with you, and just the positivity that you have. And a lot of people don't know you even had a magazine around positivity. I mean, what are some of the things that you do that really create the life? How do you consciously create your version of your spa life where you have harmony in your life? I mean, what are some of the things that, because I know you work some long hours and you have such huge contribution of what you do. How are you bringing some of that harmony in?
Well, first of all, I got to say, and I don't share this all the time with people, but you're an entrepreneur, and this is a show that attracts entrepreneurs. First of all, I love not having my chain jerked. Okay, so and only an entrepreneur can really say that. That's where we control the direction of our life. Now, we might get frustrated. We might, at the end of the day, go, oh gosh, I need a drink, or let's go get a steak, whatever. But even with that exhaustion, even with the tired, you're controlling, you're making the decisions about which way you move. And if you're frustrated, that's on you. So let me just first of all say, I like not having my chain jerked. I get to control my destiny. That's the first thing. And I appreciate that. For all of your listeners and everybody who's watching this, if you're an entrepreneur and you're paying yourself, hey, bravo to you. You are one kick butt sister. I'm just telling you, because you're making things happen. You're pulling it out of the air. I have to say that this is my little soapbox. I really resent those people who are not entrepreneurs, who, will either laugh at or scoff at, or, just say, oh God, I wouldn't want to go through that. I got my steady paycheck over here. You know what I mean? That in some way, in their own little way, are like, I got my 9 to 5. Nothing's wrong with the 9 to 5%. We all need them. They're intrapreneurs instead of entrepreneurs. My point is, as an entrepreneur, you are something special. And so that's one. Second thing is, I have learned to savor more, to savor the moments. You know what? Things go by so quickly, but I have, in my particular case, I'll just say this, Sandra and I were talking about this. I have really cut back on Facebook. I haven't done a post. I can't tell you the last time I did a post. And I say that because, you know what? My world isn't Facebook. My world isn't that. Now, understand, I get it because I'm in marketing and promotion, and I help people do things on Facebook. I'm telling you, for me, I want to savor the trees. I want to savor the breeze. I want to be able to look at something and just appreciate the beauty of something. And so I consciously bring in and savor things and savor moments. And I also love reflection. And my reflection is looking on things that we've done together as a family and places we've gone. And Sandra and I will have wonderful moments when we're in the car, we're sitting at home, and we'll talk about something that the kids have done or remember when. And I got to tell you that remembering when is almost better in some cases in reflection, where we can laugh and bring that in. These are special moments, so I savor it. And the other thing is, I operate with a lot of gratitude. I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, I have a lot to be grateful for. I don't care what I'm going through. Are you kidding me? You know, one of my favorite little slogans is, bad is never good until worse happens.
That is so true.
Think about it. Bad is never good until worse happens. It can always be worse. We're going through a whole lot, and it's so easy to get caught up in all the negativity. But good far outweighs the negative, far outweighs it.
Right. Oh, I so appreciate that. And I love how you guys create this environment. I know family is such an important thing to you, and you guys have created this cocoon of your home that you have as well. And one of the things that I always like to ask my guests, because I really believe the environment that you create around you, pulls you towards the experience you want to have. You're going to feel differently in your bedroom versus your office and your kitchen. So what is your favorite room in your home and why?
Oh, gosh. First of all, Sandra and I, we bought these two. In fact, they were custom made, 2 recliners and motorized, you know what I'm saying? and so we love our family room. Our family room is just awesome. And, we have our little programs that we watch together, and, we're both into those fix-ups, up or do-over shows, And so my favorite room is probably our family room and in the house. And then, you can't beat the bedroom either. We got a wonderful bedroom and resting place and zone. So really, between our kitchen, our family room with our 2 motorized recliners there, and I mean, we just really kick back. You got to come over. I'll let you sit in my recliner. You won't want to get out of it.
I love it. I love it. Well, and rumor has it that your bride is an expert at making homemade popcorn.
Oh my gosh, Sandra can tear up some popcorn. I mean, we got some stuff down. I mean, she's got the barbecue ribs down. She's just a phenomenal cook, and we've also made a big choice about our diet lifestyle, our food lifestyle. I mean, we both have just really just changed our paradigm around food, and our health and all that. So we do it together. It's one thing that I really like about and really appreciate is how much, we share and do together and support each other. We just do. I mean, people would come over to our house and they'll see us, and whether it be in the kitchen or what the case may be, she's washing, I'm drying, or what, and we don't even think about it. It's not even a thought. But I am struck by the people who'll be there, and we have like a little bar area leading into our kitchen, and people will be sitting in those chairs. And people always say, or make a comment, man, you guys are a great team. And we don't think about it like that, but people will say that. And we do. I think we've just fallen into just supporting each other. I know Brianna, our daughter, now works at eWomenNetwork, and that's a whole nother story, and it's fabulous. And she is just, she is so impressive. I just can't believe how lucky we are that she is now here leading our social media and stuff like that. But I remember Brianna saying when she came to our office and she popped in, or our son would come in, and they just thought because of the way they saw us working at home that we were like almost working in the same office. But they came and they said, God, it's amazing. You and Mom don't even do much at the office together. I mean, she's got her thing, you've got your thing, and you're off to the races. I said, yeah, but they had the perception because of how they saw us work as a team at home, right, that we were doing the same thing here. Instead of us having our own sandbox of doing different things to support what we're trying to do.
Right. And I think that is such a great message for, couples considering working together. I mean, yeah, a lot of people would be like, oh no, I can't spend that much time, with my significant other. Yeah. And then others are like, well, how do you do that? And I think it's so important to have those boundaries around, what is your lane? What is Sandra's lane? What is the thing that you guys do, so that that overlap and that communication, I mean, communication being the key there of what everyone's doing. And I think that the fact that you guys have been so clear about your roles, that, it weaves into all the different aspects. And that's why it looks so seamless with you guys. I mean, it looks so easy, but you guys have really put a lot of time and effort into honoring each other and to hear each other and see, hey, no, this is what, Kym's in charge of, go ask him, or hey, that's Sandra's realm, go ask her, and to be really clear about that. And I think that that really takes a lot of the muckiness out of, well, who's doing what. And I'm sure there's been a few times where it's like, oh well, until you get clear on that, that's how you can't move forward.
Oh yeah. Listen, Sandra and I used to have a horrible time. I mean, it was just, and let me just say, early in our relationship, whether it be friends coming over for dinner or something like that, I would never help her in the kitchen. I don't know what that was about. It was stupid. But, that created all kinds of tension. I mean, we've had to learn behaviors that would support our relationship. We had to learn those, and then put them to practice. And, I will tell you, being the second banana, I've really learned a lot. I really learned a lot. I have to even tell you, we got mad at each other about something. Right now, I can't remember. It was something that mattered to her, and I thought she was making too big a deal about it, And so she thought that I was like very uncaring about something that really mattered to her, but that really wasn't the case. I just the way I handle stuff, is different than the way she handles and processes stuff. And so, she was expecting a little more, I think, TLC or understanding from me, and I wasn't giving it to her on this particular time. So that was one of those nights when I slept in a little different bedroom that we had our guest in.
You learned that question real quick. You learned that lesson.
Man, our guest bedroom was pretty comfortable.
You're a quick study.
Yeah, it was a quick study. I thought, I mean, a little clue when I went back to our bedroom and the door was locked. I thought, I'm not even going to knock. Yeah, but here's the interesting part. So that morning, we weren't really talking. We were more grunting at each other, And so then we come into the office, and I think it was probably around 11 o'clock, just before lunch. And I walked into her office. She's at her computer, and I stood over by the side, and she looked up at me, and I put my hands out to her for her to put her hands in mine. And she put her hands in mine, and I pulled her up, and I said, "I'm sorry if I hurt you, baby." And she says, "I'm sorry too." And we hugged, and it was a hard hug. Like it was like one of those, like it was almost like, thank God we got over that, because we've got to, listen. You can be ticked off as much as you want, but the thing is, if you know that your partner is really about supporting you and would not want to hurt you, and vice versa. Our thing is, how fast can you forgive each other and move on? I mean, let's forgive and move on. Let's and not revisit that again. You know what I mean? So I'm saying all that to say, hey, we have our challenges just like anybody else. But I think it is about how you resolve them, how quickly you can resolve them, and how quickly can you get to your truth. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing we go through that is more important for me, and I believe the same for her, than the relationship that we have.
Right. Well, and I so appreciate how transparent you and Sandra are about, your life and your journey, because, entrepreneurs really need to hear this, because when they're in the struggle, they need to be able to look up to people who've walked that walk. And what do you do? And even, years later, it's not a perfect science, right? It's like one of those, having that constantly saying like, what does that person need and how you can support them, and to really, get back to like, okay, what is really important here. And I think that's where the foundation of being, grateful and having laughter and having fun, and to move past that, because, that can be a slippery slope if you get into like the negativity and a couple days go by and then a week goes by. I mean, it's hard to recover from that. So the sooner you turn the channel on that, then, the more you can really step into the bigger purpose of why we're all here. And I love that you guys stand into your bigger purpose and why you're here. And, that just leads me into, I know that you and Sandra are equally committed to philanthropy, and CNN recognized you guys as with eWomenNetwork, of the American Hero Award, the founder in the wake of the Hurricane Katrina. And you guys have just, awarded so much in the way of giving. I mean, I love the fact that it's one of the things that attracts me to eWomen so much. And the foundation is something my company is committed to supporting as well. And that, you know, the eWomen Foundation is another aspect of eWomen Network.
Yes.
It's a standalone of your charitable giving, of the importance of giving back. And, you know, you have to date, you've awarded cash grants to 118 women nonprofits and 167 scholarships to emerging female leaders of tomorrow. And I think it's even higher than that at this point. But I know that that's such a giving part of your heart and Sandra's to have that happen. Tell me, how does that having philanthropy be, you know, a baseline about why you're doing business and why you're here in the world? How does that affect how you show up in the world?
First of all, I love eWomenNetwork for that. I absolutely love what eWomenNetwork stands for. I mean, there is nothing that feels better than, one, seeing our members and the collaboration that's taking place. Diane, let me put this, because to me it's all charitable in its core essence, and that is the mere fact that there are women that you know and that you're doing business with that you would have never connected with if it wasn't for eWomenNetwork. That is like the cat's meow to me. The fact that young emerging female leaders are coming to the conference, learning from people, seeing how women collaborate, network, and build businesses together, and we give them scholarships. It's phenomenal. It changes everything. I mean, I am so proud of what we as a culture are about, and I feel so blessed that there are people like you and countless thousands of others around the country and Canada that embrace this culture and pour into this. You know, this is what I mean by gratitude for me. I mean, it's you know, eWomenNetwork, first of all, could not exist without the charitable side of this. I mean, when Sandra and I started eWomenNetwork, it was the next thing we did was we put in the eWomenNetwork Foundation, because we knew that giving was going to be central to this. I mean, it's really like we even tell people, networking is about giving, not getting. You know, and understanding that it is not about me giving to you so you give to me. No, you have to give the understanding that they will never be able to pay you back, but give because it's the right thing to do and support each other. And so we see the magic there. I mean, listen, Diane, what we do just totally fulfills us. And even though you go through, you know, nothing is mirrored glass. Nothing is just super smooth. You know what I mean? You always have bumps and things along the way, you know, things that happen that you have to navigate through, you know. But I got to tell you, it's critical and crucial to who we are, the giving aspect of the nonprofit. And when we bring these charities up on stage and we do that, and the members get to share into it, and know where all the money's going and how it's being spent, and seeing on people's faces the impact that the giving is having on them. It's just phenomenal. It really is.
Oh, it's definitely one of the things that attracts me to eWomenNetwork. And I mean, I know, Kym, you and I could talk all afternoon here.
I say we do. I say we just take it and keep going and say the heck with it. Let's do a 24-hour discussion.
We'll be doing a week-long episode now.
Yeah, let's break a record.
Right? Absolutely. Well, I know, Kym, that people are going to want to stay in contact with you and also maybe curious if they don't know about eWomenNetwork. How is it that they can connect with you and learn more about eWomenNetwork?
So the easiest thing, just I want you to go to eWomenNetwork.com. All the connections are there. It's what we're about, how to stay in contact with me. You know, it's all right there. You know, and feel free to reach out. And by the way, if you want to see more about celebrity science, that's the whole other side of our business. That's a division that I founded for the company because so many members, Diane, were sending in materials that just. I mean, it just was awful. And I just thought, you know, and no one, you know, your friends don't tell you. Your friends go just say, hey, that's nice. You know, they don't want to tell you that no one will ever hire you as a result of this.
Right.
You know? And so have some fun. See celebrityscience.com where you can see, in fact, the only thing you can do there is watch a video that really explains the science and the approach that I take. And you'll see some befores and afters of some of our clients. But you can see celebrityscience.com, and you can also find it at eWomenNetwork.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that is a brilliant video. I love watching that. I've watched that actually several times just to see the transformation that
Yeah.
people have had on there. So definitely listeners, you're going to want to be able to check that out.
Yeah.
And, you know, for our listeners who are wondering about this conversation that we're having about, you know, spa life and, you know, creating the environment and the life and the things where you can have more harmony. And, you know, it all starts with awareness. And so
Yes.
a free gift that I have for you is to go to liferesetquiz.com, and that's liferesetquiz.com. It takes 2 minutes to really look at what is working for you and where you may need some support. And that's a great start to have that happen. And then also social media. We talked about it here about connecting with people, whether you're going to see this on Facebook or YouTube or on, you know, the eWomenNetwork platform, you know, put in the comments, you know, even if you've heard something before, but you heard it a different way, you know, what is something that Kym shared or I shared that, you know, you really, you know, landed for you. I'd love for you to put in the comments what that is, and make sure that you tag both Kym and myself so that we can respond to you and answer any questions and really help you in moving forward in the work that you are doing in the world. So Kym, I want to thank you so much for your time and being here on the show. I'm a big fan, as you know, and I love the work that you're doing.
Diane, thank you, and keep doing the incredible work you're doing. It's so impressive. You are so impressive. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much. So listeners, thank you so much for your time and tuning here with us. And until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.